from Egypt. And all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin. You may be seated. Now, from there, I just want you to open your mind and put your attention on. Now, since I'm in the wilderness, how can I come out the wilderness? How can I come out the wilderness? See, after the people of Israel was delivered from bondage, they left Egypt rejoicing in the Lord. Nearly 400 years of pain, misery, and suffering under the authority of the Egyptian government left a bitterness that they should have never forgotten. Many prayers had went out asking God to deliver me from my taskmaster, asking God to deliver me because a Pharaoh's soldiers is molesting me, asking God to deliver me from all my bondage, because it was just like what they say, Alcatraz. I mean, you know, in Alcatraz, when you go to one of these prisons that you're handcuffed and that they say hard time, heavy burden, anything and everything that they want to happen can and will happen. I mean, they found themselves in a place like Alcatraz. But God came one day in his servant, through his servant Moses, and he heard their prayer, and he brought them out of the bondage. And what happened is when he brought them out, he set them in a place that they, for a minute there, didn't even have in their mind that this was going to be even possible, because when God delivered them, he didn't take them straight to the promise, but he had promised them a land that flows with milk and honey. But yet still, there was a stop sign in the way. There was a yield sign in the way. There was a caution sign in the way. There was a rest stop. You know, a layover, a little hotel, California activity. You know, one of those things. I mean, it went straight to the land that flows with milk and honey. They tell me, when I studied on the subject about the wilderness, they stopped there. The wilderness of sin was the wilderness of Mount Sinai. And in this wilderness, I found out that it wasn't too many trees. This wilderness, it was dry, hard, full of stones, rocks, serpents, no water, hot sun. I mean, when they looked at the wilderness, they really desired to go back home, straight back into the bondage that God brought them out. But yet still, they forgot all about how he opened the Red Sea. You know, how he destroyed Pharaoh's army and all of this stuff. But see, the thing is, what they was looking at in the naked eye in Egypt looked a little bit like heaven. Because now I can't even see a piece of bread. I can't grow none either. Because I'm in the midst of a desert situation. You know, sometimes when God delivers us, I'm going to just go on and break that on down to you. When God brings us out of He got something for you. But you know what the desert and the wilderness represent? It represents the testing ground for each one of us. We got to go through to get to it. That's what most preachers be preaching about, going through something to get to something better. And if you're not willing to go through, you'll never get to it. But the truth of the matter is, if there are more people in Center Baptist that have joined the church and turned around and left the church because they wasn't willing to go through. Because the wilderness is a hard place. It's like being between a rock and a hard place. At least I had free bread. You know, God can bring you out of a situation. You might have a friend that's beating on you. God put him in prison. And you be sitting right there waiting on him to get out. Because why? When you looked at what God was trying to tell you, I was trying to do with you, it wasn't a pretty picture. That is where what I call faith comes in to be as the most important key to living a Christian life. The 11th chapter of Hebrews says, for without it, no man can enter in. Without faith, it's impossible to please him, to get to him. You first got to believe that he is. And he's the rewarder of those that faithfully believe in it. So if you can't believe in him, if you don't have the faith, you got an issue. Now, I'm going to move on in the story because the story got some details about it, and I'm going to just take you right over. God had mercy on those just like he had mercy on us through our many flaws. And I'm going to just take you there because it was an important part in the story that happened at the end of the journey. Now, we play church. We do everything along the way. God spares our life. He blesses us over and over and over again. He has mercy on us so many times. How many times will he forgive us? 70 times 7, I can't even count them all as far as he. Because I made just that many mistakes down through the years. God been good to me. And I know he can. But I want to get it right. And the question is, how can I come out of Mount Wilderness? Not Israel's wilderness. The truth of the matter is, we all have a wilderness. Because we all full of iniquity. That's sin right there. And there's a wilderness out there. It's nothing to play with life anymore. It never was really. But how can we come out? Here's what happened to Israel. They got to the promised land. And guess what happened? It was only a faithful few that was able to walk on in. Why was that, Brother Milton? Because some just got on board. Some just with father and mom, father and dad. Going to church to be free. I just want to be your father. I just want to have a seat on the deacon board. I just want to be at Center Baptist because they just, boy, the way they worship down there, It just makes me feel good. All over. It ain't about righteousness. It ain't about faith a lot of times. But the thing is, that's the exact thing that causes most of us to have a great falling away. Stumbling all over ourselves because we can get caught up into the zeal of the circles and begin to create our own self-righteous way of serving God, and righteousness is nowhere near. Righteousness is nowhere near. That's why in the second chapter, in 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, he talked about Pearlius day that's going to come. But they will have a form of godliness, but really deny the power. That's right. What kind of religion is that? That's that other kind. That other kind of that lack faith in the Son of God. That other kind that we kind of make things up the way we want to make things up, the way they feel good, sound good, act good, and there is no show. You know, but they kind of want that. Because, you know, they had that kind along the way. But Crawford, the man of God, Crawford, he had that kind. And what happened, Crawford tried his best to take the place of Moses, the man of God, that God himself used to talk to face, anointed him for that position, for that title. But here come another minister. Let's be frank, church. Let's do it. We do the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to go here and I'm going to quickly close as quick as I can. Because it's in the church and it's even stuff. That form of religion thing. That form of religion thing. Where that if I ain't preaching, I can't even shout glory when my sister. When I ain't singing, I can't even sing right. For all of us. But if you hear me, give me a microphone and let me sing my song. I'll stay in the church. I'll sing, let my mama say some cows come on. You have to sit me down. Forms of religion. Some was just on board. That's what I'm trying to say. But when it got down to getting into heaven, Moses made one statement at one time and said, who's on the Lord's side? Come over here. Not every one of them came over. And it didn't matter anyway. Because like I already told you, without faith, it's impossible to get in. It's impossible. I don't care what you do, how you do it, how much you do it. I heard, and I really would love to learn this song. The song about, I don't want to be standing outside. Because that's exactly what happened when they got to the promised land. Many of them left standing outside for 40 years and just died right on off. Because God was not pleased. They made the journey and they got to the pearly gate. I'm going to use the pearly gate. In our day, we make the journey and we get to the pearly gate. After 40 years, it's in a baptism. After 20 years, it's in a baptism. After thinking the pump. But God say, I'll spew you out. If you're not right, flee from me. You workers of iniquity. I know you're not. I'm telling you, church. The question that should be on each of our minds, tell you a story, but it's really a vision. And I'm still trying to sit down. But my vision took me to a place. And what was going on, I found myself in a vision, but I was in the vision preaching. And this message was being preached. And my pastor was there. And in the message, as I preached the message, what began to take place, as the Spirit began to move on me, the Lord came along and began to take my coat off. He took my coat off. I'm not going to go too far on word, but I'm going to take the shoes off. He took the shoes off. And what happened, he kept on stripping me down. Until I looked up and I just had my boxers and t-shirt on. And I said, oh my God, what do this mean? And he looked at me and said, you remember my servant, John the Baptist, a man of God. Jesus Christ said, there's none greater than him. And he said, but guess what? What was so great about it? Because he really didn't have no 2 or 3 garments. I mean, he had camel hair wrapped around it. And when he had dinner, he had some wild locusts and honey to feast on. He didn't have the pleasure of life like the high priest with all the gold and all this, but he had the Spirit of God, and when he preached, thousands were baptized. And the Lord told me that's what I want. And I found myself preaching until I couldn't stop. And when I didn't stop, there was a horn blow. Just like it was the end of time. And when the horn blew, my pastor looked up and said, all God's people, come on, saints. It's time to go. And I found myself following Pastor right on out the door. But I had a young man beside me. And I couldn't preach to the rest, but I was on the end of the line, and I was preaching to a young boy. Walking right on out the door to meet up with the Lord. So the trick is, you must remain faithful. You can't never, I don't care how the situation looks, make up your mind to turn back, to eat in the house of the Lord at the Lord's table, and to get up from the Lord's table and go play cross town at the devil's table. That's the very thing why many of them was left wandering in the wilderness for 40 long years. For 40 long years. Hear me, church. There's a word. Because God is not pleased. But the thing is, He already knew. It's written. What is going to be taking place in the last days? How people will be fooling themselves about they are going to heaven any old way, anyhow. I'm going to be there. I ain't worried about it. But that's a lie. Many will say, I know you. Depart from me. But the thing is, as I stand today, He has given us another chance to get it right. Before I close, I'm going to mention one mention. I'm going to mention one name. Maybe 2. David was no different than you or I. Because he had his own willingness of sin. You remember David had some faults. You know, adultery, fornication. But he remembered the Lord. And he went back. And he got it right. And because he remembered the Lord, he mentioned in a word that I waited patiently on the Lord. He heard my cry, and he brought me up and out of a horrible pit, from out of the muck and miry clay. And he set my feet on a solid rock and established my goings. But David, I like to think on these things because, you know, in Hebrews 12th chapter, the Bible teaches us that we have come already, being spiritual men and women, we can get in contact with God. And when I think of getting in contact with God, I think about having a talk in the spirit realm and he can speak back to me. But the thing is, if I had to ask the question to my brother David this evening and ask him, how did you come out the wilderness? I believe that he'll tell me that the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want another shepherd. The Lord is the one that led me into green pasture. The Lord is the one that led me beside the still water, and the Lord is the one that leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Not for my name's sake, but for his name's sake. And then do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I don't have to fear any evil, because it is still the Lord with me. How did you come out? Because the Lord stabbed his rod. They covered me. They protected me. And all the time when I was hungry and all that, he prepared a table before me. He anointed my head with oil. He gave me a cup of water. My cup runneth over. How did I come out? The question is, and the answer is, Jesus gave us the answer. Pastor preached faith in this church. How to come out? But the answer, Jesus said one thing that won't go anywhere, and it'll stand until God is ready to take us away. He made mention of one word. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come unto the Father except by me. May God bless you.